This episode was originally published in November of 2024.
Gary Peterson is an unusual guy, and that's a compliment. And not many of you can ever say, and he's not majority owner, but that I met a guy that owned part of the Astros and part of the Texans. He likes sports. He's been very generous with Texas Tech and our athletic programs. And this is a situation within the classroom. I want to interview you, and I want them to know that they might get where you are today, that he was not a 4-point student.
Well, I wasn't.
And I've told that, before when I was asking you for money, we always introduced you as a 4-point student. No, we didn't. But Gary, thanks for coming and doing this. And let's start off a little about, tell me about your parents.
She grew up here in Lubbock and lived on 44th Street, 3111 44th Street. And I watched them build Lubbock, Monterey, so it gives you an idea. I went to school here probably 60 years ago now. It's hard for me to imagine. But I watched them build Lubbock, Monterey, and I always thought I was going to Monterey. And right before, the summer before I was going to Monterey, we moved to Amarillo. And my father was in the real estate business, mortgage loan business, and he went in business for himself, and we moved to Amarillo. There was a reason that he did that. And so I didn't get to go to Lubbock, Monterey, and it kind of broke my heart at the time. But I went to Amarillo, Tascosa, and met a lot of great friends, and then I came back and went back to Texas Tech. And my father was a B-29 pilot in World War II, and then my mother actually worked for the Army Air Corps in World War II. They were Mr. and Miss Hereford High School, if you can imagine. Everybody knows where Hereford is out here, but they were Miss Hereford High School, got married, and then had me, and then I have a sister, Sally. She lives in Canyon, Texas.
You had, was there anything that you did in high school that you remember well and enjoyed?
Well, and so all the big guys that got all the pretty girls were all football players. I was in the band. So but I became president of the Tascosa High School band and loved it a lot. Came here and I played in the Texas Tech band, the marching band. I was here the first 2 years in the marching band. Then I had to go into ROTC. I got commissioned as an officer. I had to go in the Army for 2 years, right toward the tail end of the Vietnam War. And I didn't have to go, fortunately for me. But a lot of friends went over there. I went back to Amarillo, Tascosa probably, Kent, I went back maybe 2 years ago now, and they inducted me into the Amarillo, Tascosa Hall of Fame.
That's
I
great.
didn't even know they had a Hall of Fame, but my sister got me in it. And but what was interesting is they had the band on the stage, and the student body was out in the audience. And I said, okay, everybody, we're having fun here today, but the tuba player over here, that was Mickey Muting. He got killed in Vietnam. The baritone player over here, that was somebody else. He got killed in Vietnam. So people don't really realize how big that war was, but we lost 4 or 5 people out of my high school, and several others were wounded, over in Vietnam.
And it was a war that growing up, you'd seen that anyone that fought in World War II was a hero, everybody looked up to him.
Yep.
And then Vietnam, it was a different deal.
Yeah.
And they didn't come back to cheering crowds or anything like that. A lot of young guys, I know we were looking when they came up with a number and they and they pull that number out, the birthday, your birthday.
Yeah.
In the first number, there was one of my fraternity brothers, first number called was his. And he went to Vietnam, was highly decorated, and lived through it, lived to tell about it. And so it had an impact on us. You can just stop and think about what you're doing now, and all of a sudden your friends getting shipped off to a war that was 10,000 miles away.
That's right.
And as Muhammad Ali said, I ain't got nothing against him Kong. I don't even know him. and so there were a lot of people had those feelings, and it was tough. And you you were in the band. You had to try out to get in the tech band.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, everyone that wanted to play, that played in high school, could play in the tech band. Now, to be in the concert band, which was a bigger deal, you had to try for that. I was the only trombone player in the concert band that was a non-music major. I was a finance major in the business school, so I really did like the band, and it was fun. But I was only in it 2 years, and then I had to go into ROTC.
You also pledged the fraternity.
Yeah, I pledged Phi Kappa Psi. I was a Phi Psi here.
And so was John Walker, who served on the board.
John Walker was Phi Psi with me.
And Governor Perry was going to appoint you to the Board of Regents, and you had to give up your job and everything. It was a conflict because he does a lot of finance.
So we have funds that we manage to invest the funds in the oil and gas industry. And we at the time managed about 10% of Tech's endowment. And so they were going to appoint me to the Board of Regents at Texas Tech, but they couldn't because we had a conflict.
Right.
So it was okay.
You'd been a great regent.
Yeah, well.
You got out, you had a finance degree. We had the same major.
Yeah.
And you got out and you went with Republic first?
Yeah, Republic National Bank of Dallas, yeah.
Were they just out here interviewing and you interviewed with them? Or?
All right, you ready for this story?
Yeah.
All right, so I went at Texas Tech. I got a BBA, and then I went on and got an MBA in finance. And then I went in the Army for 2 years. Well, the people in my MBA program all went to First National Bank of Dallas. So, I mean, there were probably 25 people in the MBA program. Those who went into banking, for the most part, all went to First of Dallas. And so I had to go in the Army for 2 years, so I couldn't do that. So after I got out of the Army, I went back to First of Dallas and interviewed, and they didn't hire me. And I started crying. I said, I just can't believe this. I had to go in the Army for 2 years, and all my buddies went to First of Dallas. Now you're not going to hire me. So I went back to Washington, D.C., where I was in the Army at the time. And then I went to Houston, interviewed 2 big banks in Houston, and went back to Dallas, interviewed Republic. And Republic hired me. And I was, for the most part, a C student. And the guy that was the recruiter at Republic Bank in Dallas had served in the military as well. And he said, we're going to hire you just because you're a little older, a little more mature than kids just coming out of college. So he hired me. And then I rose up and became the first guy to go into the oil and gas lending area that wasn't a petroleum engineer. And then learned how to make oil and gas loans. And then later met the 3 partners that that joined me to form NCAP Investments, which became the largest private equity firm for oil and gas in the country. And had I gone first to Dallas, I would have met all these people. So when God shuts the door, he opens the window. And so one of the best things that ever happened to me was that First National Bank of Dallas didn't hire me.
They did hire a bunch of people in your class, though.
Almost everybody that went into banking.
Everybody, but
yeah.
By the time you got there, they didn't have an opening for
Right,
you.
right.
And now, Bum Bright, was he?
He's on the board of Republic.
Yeah, was on the board and
yeah.
was a good friend of mine in years.
Yeah.
He bought the Dallas Cowboys, and then he sold them to Jerry Jones.
Okay.
And so that was a little,
yeah.
But Republic became.
I saw a cowboy sweatshirt in here. I'm going to have to send you a Texan sweatshirt. It looks to me like. Go ahead.
The oil and gas industry, Republic started doing more loans than anyone else.
So Republic, what's kind of ironic, and by the way, when I grew up in Amarillo, I was a huge cowboy fan. We had Roger Staubach, and those were good times in those days. But so what's ironic is Republic National Bank of Dallas was the largest bank in Texas, and First of Dallas was the second largest. So when I went to Republic is the bank that invented the method of loaning money against oil and gas in the ground. They actually invented it, and they had a rich tradition in the oil and gas industry. When I was coming out of the training program, I really didn't want to go into oil and gas. I thought I'd get pigeonholed. I'd be a specialist. I kind of wanted to be a general banker and eventually, rise up through the ranks of the bank. They said, no, go into the oil and gas department, and if you like it, you can stay. If you don't like it, we'll move you to another division. So I went in there and I started making oil and gas loans and worked with engineers and started traveling and brought in a lot of business at the time. And it was fun. And I all of a sudden I fell in love more with the oil and gas industry than did the banking business. So over time, we eventually left the bank. There were 4 of us together. and formed our firm NCAP Investments and took the same skill set we learned when we were at Republic to make oil and gas loans. Then we took that skill set and started investing in oil and gas properties. And that's kind of how we created the company.
Who were your other three that did NCAP?
Bob Zork, David Miller, who now is the chairman of the board of SMU, and Marty Phillips, who played football for LSU. So David Miller was probably a B student at SMU. Bob Zork, probably B student at University of California, Santa Barbara. Marty Phillips, C student at LSU. Gary Peterson, C student at Texas Tech.
There's hope.
So the four of us, and what was interesting is the blend of our personalities came together, and the four of us equal more than it's how we were successful, is that each one of us helped the other one out.
You got up and you had endowments, retirement system, all kinds of people that you invested their money in oil and gas.
Right.
And then y'all made some money. How did you make your money? You charge them a percent?
Yeah. So I'll brag about my firm for a minute. So we started this firm from scratch in 1988. And the reason we started from scratch is the oil and gas industry was just failing, and all the big Texas banks were failing. So we didn't have much of a choice. Once again, couldn't go to First Dallas, and the bank was failing once I finally got to Republic. So we left and formed this firm, as we called it NCAP Investments.
ENCAP.
Energy Capital. ENCAP, Energy Capital, NCAP Investments. So we formed NCAP, and the first few years were very, very difficult. We had to scramble around just to really make ends meet. But the reason we were successful in being C students is that we outworked everybody. So work ethic to me is more important almost than your grades. And it's one of the things I think you get at Texas Tech. The work ethic of Texas Tech kids is better than anybody in the country, in my view. But anyway, we outworked everybody. And then we slowly got bigger and then a little larger. Then we raised a fund and then raised two funds. So that today we're the largest private equity firm in the country for oil and gas. We probably have $40 billion under management. We have, listen to this, we have 90 university endowments that invest with us. Everybody from Dartmouth to USC to UCLA to the whole Big Ten, the whole Big 12, all the university endowments, 25 states, U.S. states. We have 25 insurance companies, 125 family offices, and then 6 Asian sovereign funds. So all the way from Seoul, South Korea down to Indonesia. But what's interesting, the reason I tell you that story is today, because everyone thinks that oil and gas and hydrocarbons are ruining the planet, about half our investor base now won't invest with us anymore, even though we're the best oil and gas private equity firm in the country. But they just won't invest anymore. So we're having now to scramble around and get more and more family offices to invest with us who want to actually make money and aren't as woke and concerned about ESG.
The political correctness has hit y'all.
Yeah, hard.
And hit you hard, but you're still out there, you're doing things. And oil and gas is going to be a top commodity for a long time.
Yes.
Electric cars not going to replace everybody overnight, and a lot of people not going to like it.
That's right. So, in fact, let me touch on something, Kent. So along the way, I ended up probably 3 years ago. I was appointed to the Federal Reserve Board. So I'm on the board of the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas, and then the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas created an Energy Advisory Council. So we have Daniel Yergin on that council. We have
he's a guy from Harvard that wrote the book The Prize.
Yeah, The Prize,
and he is the expert on oil and gas worldwide.
Yeah, he is the expert. And then, but we have 8 or 10 high-powered CEOs on that Energy Advisory Council, and oddly enough, I'm the chairman of it. I'm probably the lightest weight guy on the whole thing. I tell them they're all working for me, and they all laugh. But they're all sharp, and so, but with them and all researching ourselves, we've learned more and more and more and more about the oil and gas industry. And in my view, over time, you'll see the oil and gas industry actually be here forever, but we'll probably be producing cleaner oil. We'll pull out some of the carbon out of oil. We'll do natural gas, same thing. We'll pull some of the carbon out so that the oil and gas industry will continue to do well, but it'll be a different kind of industry.
It's completely changing. I think the amazing thing, y'all manage over 40 billion in oil and gas reserves. So they're buying and selling all the time. And they've made Texas Tech a lot of money. We've invested with them, and it's been a great investment for Texas Tech. And the only reason we did is because of Gary. And some of the other schools across the country, you mentioned Southern Cal, Dartmouth, all kinds of schools that they invest with them. But they go out and find oil and gas. They can buy it with the money they're getting from retirement funds, from university funds, things like that, and they made it work. The one thing, and our old friend Rex Fuller, he was an oil and gas guy and Texas Tech guy, loved Texas Tech, and he's since deceased. But he said the reason is that NCAP did so well was they had the personality and the knowledge to go out there and sell themselves, and people trusted them. And there were a lot of people wouldn't just invest with anyone. But Gary was he got out and hustled, and I'm talking about hustle in the late '80s.
Yep.
I went to Midland or Odessa or something. His tracks would be out there. He was out there, looking for properties, and then his tracks would be other places looking for buyers. And so they took something that was a couple of B students, a couple of C students, and have made billions. And so that's pretty good. But somebody forgot to get Gary over the side, put their arm around him and said, "Son, you can't do that." He believed that he could, and they were scared.
Yep.
And so it's really going well. When did you move to Houston?
So I was at Republic National Bank of Dallas until about 1980, then moved to Houston, and we formed NCAP, and then we started down the road of creating what we created. So, and I like Houston. I like both cities, actually, Dallas and Houston. And it's good that I know both cities reasonably well, but a lot of our business is both in Dallas and Houston. And then I go to Midland from time to time, Oklahoma City, we go all around. And that's where all the oil companies are, Denver maybe as well. But then to raise the money, you have to go worldwide. We have investors in Europe. We have them all over the Far East, as I mentioned earlier. And that's been fun too, because growing up in Lubbock and Amarillo, I mean, I never dreamed I'd see all the things I've seen, but once a year for 10 years in a row, I'd fly from Houston to Dallas to Seoul, South Korea, Seoul to Tokyo to Beijing to Hong Kong, then to Kuala Lumpur, down to Indonesia, and then back. And I do all that in about 8 or 9 days. And we ended up getting 6 Asian sovereign funds to invest with us that are still invested with us today.
6 different countries.
6 different countries.
And is it okay to name those?
Yeah, sure. Hong Kong Monetary Authority, HKMA they call it. CIC, Chinese Investment Corp. HKMA, Hong Kong Monetary Authority. So these are really the sovereign wealth funds of the countries. So we've got 6 of them.
So you have people, not only like you took that tour in hustling, but who was your first big customer
on the investment side?
Yeah.
Well, what happened when we were at Republic National Bank of Dallas, we worked a lot with American General in Houston, Travelers Insurance Company in Hartford, Connecticut. There were about 6 firms like that. We had done some deals where we do the banking part and they do the longer term insurance part and the financing of some oil companies. So when we left the bank, we knew those guys, and we went to them, and all 6 of them invested in our first fund. That's how we built it.
I mean, you got off to a good start because they'd been doing business with you when you were at Republic.
And they knew us, yeah. And let me tell you one other funny thing. So right after we left the bank, Republic National Bank of Dallas, the bank failed. And so all the Texas banks failed. You had First of Dallas and Republic merged and jointly failed. You had First City Bank in Houston failed, Bank of the Southwest in Houston failed. Actually, TCB, if the truth were known, failed, Texas Commerce Bank in Houston, but Chase bought them, so they cloaked it. But they all failed. And so I was walking around downtown Houston with my partners. We had just resigned. I said, now, how do we raise a fund when our banks just failed? I said, people say, you guys came from this bank that failed. Why should we invest money with you? About that time, the Dallas Morning News came out with an article that said the rise and fall of Republic National Bank of Dallas. And it was on the front page of the paper. And it talked about how the oil and gas division of Republic was the elite division of the bank, and it never lost money on an oil and gas production loan. And what broke the bank was the real estate division, invested money in real estate. So we reprinted that article. Whenever we go see somebody to raise money, they say, well, what about your bank? Read the article. And that's how we raised our first fund.
Y'all were in great shape, and that was the truth. The real estate, when the real estate market plummeted, it went through the floor. And it was just a terrible situation. As you, there was a guy named Charlie Frazier, who was president of First National
Dallas,
in Midland.
Oh, Midland, okay,
Midland. But I was in Congress at the time, 81, and I had lunch with Ben Love with Texas Commerce Bank, and I was going to Midland that night, and he said, tell Charlie Frazier that we're going to buy his bank. And that was in 81. The fall had not started. And I had dinner that night with Charlie Frazier, and I said, Ben Love wants to buy your bank. And he said, no way he'll get it. We're too good. We're solid. Nothing will ever happen to us. And then 3 years later, I got a call one night trying to get them another month to stay open before they closed. And so, things can change quickly, real quick.
Oh, yeah, they can.
You got into sports, you'd come, I'd see you at every tech event, and especially if we're playing TCU or SMU, you'd all be there, University of Houston or Rice or whoever.
Oh, yeah.
But you started, you invested a little and got a little closer to it on the pro side.
Well, what I did there, Kent, is even though, I played a little football at Atkins Junior High here in Lubbock, Texas, and I was terrible. I never liked to get a hit. I think my nickname might have been Powder Puff. I'm just not sure, but I was never very good at football. And at Amarillo, Tascosa, I actually was a swimmer. Did a lot of swimming, and was okay at it. I wasn't. In fact, when I was a swimmer at Tascosa, I finally came down to when I went to Tech. A guy named Coach McNally was the Tech swim coach. Remember him?
McNally.
So I went to see him. I said, here are my times in high school. I said, do you think it's possible I can swim for Tech? He looked at my times and said, no, I don't think so.
Didn't give you a long speech.
No, you can't. So that's when I decided I better start studying and start working. But, it's, what was your question again?
Well, I want to come back to something you made me think of about how you got involved with the pro sport.
Oh, the sports.
And how you got into that.
What I'm going to tell you, so I was never very good, but I always admired football players. I had I just really admired them. So when we moved from Lubbock to Amarillo, I actually went out and watched Tascosa play one day. I said, "There's no way I could play football either." But I got enamored with it. Had a lot of friends that were football players. I got to be buddies with them. And then my senior year at Tascosa, we went all the way to the state semifinals and got beat by Garland 7-6. And next week they won the state championship. So except for a missed extra point, we won the state championship. And so I really had fun. And then when I went to Tech, we had Donnie Anderson and we had Tom Wilson. We had all sorts of great players. So I became just a huge fan. And then as time went on, I just got to be a larger and larger fan. And then later on, I married Ron Meyer's daughter. Ron Meyer was head coach at SMU. If you remember, SMU got in trouble. They had the death penalty, they had the Pony Express, and they called it Pony Excess and some of that stuff. And Ron Meyer left SMU and then went to New England, became the head coach of the New England Patriots, then head coach of the Colts. Well, he and I became best friends, and then we played golf together all over the country, and even took him to Scotland or something and play. And so I just got to be just this huge football fan. So I had a friend who was in the oil and gas industry in Houston who fell on hard times and owned an interest in the Texans. And I kind of knew where he was in his financial stuff. And so I went to him and sure enough, I was able to buy his interest in the Texans. And so they had to get approved by the league and had to get approved by the McNair family, but I was able to buy it. Turned out to be one of the best investments I've ever made, except for maybe my company NCAP. And then later on, you had Jim Crane bought the Astros from Drayton McLean.
And we've had Drayton in this class.
Okay, so the Crane came to all the partners at NCAP and wanted us to invest in the Astros. And all three of my other partners said, no, we don't want to invest in the Astros. I mean, the Astros aren't any good. And, Jim Crane, we don't really know that much about. And I said, you guys are crazy. I said, Houston Astros, they're going to do great. So I invested, and they're probably, the Texans, there are probably 6 or 7 other minority owners, and the Astros, there are probably 20 others. So, and the guy that the McNair family runs the Texans and the Crane family really are in charge of the Astros. But I have a little bit of say. I'm on the board of both, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been and so as time has gone on, of course, got more and more involved in all that. And then I later on, and I like to play golf, so believe it or not, Pebble Beach is in a partnership, and I was able to buy into that partnership. So I own a little bit of Pebble Beach and the Astros, the Texans. So that's been a ton of fun.
Pebble Beach is the greatest golf course.
That's amazing, yeah.
Ever.
If you've been good, you go through the light tunnel, you come out of Pebble Beach. Yeah. That's what I tell people.
That's good. That's good. It's certainly not Amarillo Country Club, which is not a bad club.
That's a good club too. I was lifeguard there every summer.
You're lifeguard.
Lifeguard at Amarillo Country Club.
Well, what factor do you attribute your success to?
Kent, I've known, he taught me business law at Tech, if you can imagine.
He would be broke today if he hadn't taken my course. He took notes, and remember that, kids.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I tell you, honestly, I'm a C student, and I attribute my success to fear of failure. I never wanted to fail, and I didn't have a big trust fund. We didn't have any money. I grew up in a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house here in Lubbock, and then I just knew if I failed, I didn't have any money behind me. So I just outworked everybody, and when we just never would quit. And the other 3 partners I had at NCAP were the same way. We all had fear of failure. We never worked out of greed. It was always fear of failure. So we just worked as hard as we could, and we never quit. And I also think, and this will get off into different things, but all 4 of us are, in my view at least, good Christians, and I think we've always given back a lot to our community and helped people. And I think God smiled on us, because there are many times along the way where we could have failed for various reasons, and always the right thing would happen for us. So we just been very fortunate, very blessed.
They all 4 of them are go-getters, and they work hard. And another thing, I think your personality and the way you get along with people, they had confidence, and he let them know that he was going to take care of their money. Yeah. You don't go to the board at Dartmouth or Southern Cal and tell them one thing and be doing something else. You got to be believable. And so when you're in a sales position, and y'all were, you were in a sales position, but you were also in a buying position because you were investing their money once they got it.
Yeah.
And so y'all have got about over $40 billion under management.
Right.
How many employees do you have?
100. We have offices in Oklahoma City, Dallas, San Antonio, and Houston, about 100 employees.
Now, you're not publicly traded.
No, private.
And you've kept it that way for a reason.
Yeah, because we don't want to be public, yeah.
You don't want to have to file all those reports and everybody know everything you're doing.
Right. Well, people know everything we're doing anyway. We're still, we have SEC oversight. FTC, Federal Trade Commission, looks at every, we build up companies and sell them typically to large public companies. Every one of those things are scrutinized by the FTC. So we have, and then we have Price Waterhouse audits all of our books. So we have a lot of scrutiny, but nevertheless, we remain private. And I think that's better.
Of all the deals you've done, what's the biggest?
Oh, well, we just did a deal for about $6 or $7 billion, where we had three companies in three different funds, all in the Permian, and we rolled them all together and sold those three companies to a company called Ovintiv, Ovintiv, Ovintiv. And Ovintiv is a publicly traded oil and gas company in the Permian primarily, and it enabled them to acquire some properties that fit well with theirs. So $7 billion is probably the largest. Now, the biggest transaction in terms of today, if you look back, is we were the original creators of Plains All American. So Plains All American is the largest crude oil gatherer, transporter in the country. They have pipelines all over the country, but they're the biggest footprint in the Permian. And a little funny story on that. So I've got this friend in Houston named John Hall, and he's a polo player, but he's got the gift of gab like no one you've ever seen. He's really sharp. And he found the All-American pipeline. It was owned by Goodyear Tire and Rubber up in Akron, Ohio. So he came to us and he came to me and he said, look, I want to buy this. I want you to finance it for me. I said, you don't know anything about the pipeline business. There's no way you can do that, but I can take you to the guy who does and we'll finance it for him. So he said, well, I'm not doing that. So he went around 4 or 5 months, went to some of our competitors, came back, said, well, I couldn't get it financed anywhere else. What do you want to do? So we took it to a guy named Greg Armstrong, who runs Plains All American even today. And then Greg, we went to Akron, Ohio, figured out how to buy it. And then today it's a $20 billion publicly traded pipeline company, and it's one of the biggest in the world. It is the biggest crude oil pipeline gatherer and transporter in the world. So, and we created it from scratch. It was pretty fun.
Looking back on your degree in finance,
Yep.
and I thought I had Dr. George Berry, that was corporate finance,
Yep.
and Dr. Dukes, and
Yep.
we had some great professors in finance.
Yep.
And it was Dr. Berry. I did the eulogy at his funeral 2 years ago. And one time I went in to see him and I said, why'd I make a C? And he said, because that's what you made. Are there any other questions? No, I just thought I'd ask, but he was tough, but he was really good. And how did you jump from, you were worried about making your apartment payment.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, 10, 15 years later, you're talking about billions.
And maybe 20 to 30 years later, talking about billions. But I think, Kent, as I say, that we've been, number one, I wanted to go to a different bank I didn't get to go to. Number two, I never wanted to go in the oil and gas business, but I kind of somehow was led into that. And then we should have failed. There's 6 or 8 times, which we don't have time to detail out, why we should have failed. But of those 6 or 8 times, every time something would happen that was good. And I really attribute it to us being good people, because I think God smiled on us and helped us make it. And then we've given a ton back to the Houston community and done a lot for a lot of people, and we're proud of that. And so I've been chairman of the Memorial Hermann Healthcare System, which is the largest healthcare system in the South. Been chairman of that, and we've done a lot, Elizabeth and I have been honored at the gala and all that kind of stuff. Then the Council for Alcohol and Drugs in Houston, I've been chairman of that twice. And that's one of the things that can trip you up along the way is you can drink too much. Alcoholism, I think, is a genetic thing that you have in your body. It's not something you actually create. It's just there. And so we've helped a lot of people who have that issue. It's very difficult to overcome that, but we've helped a lot of people do it. And so we give back, and my other partners do lots of things for kids, and I do too. And so it's been I swear, I think we've been blessed, honestly.
That NCAP is a great corporate citizen, and all the charities in Houston they know y'all's address. They come
Yeah.
to see you a lot, and they have been very generous. And I think Johnny L. Cox was a dear friend of mine, and a guy in Midland that made a lot of money.
Yep.
And he always said that he had to have some real luck, and that God had to shine on him every once in a while, and that he gave back to his community.
Yeah, without that, you have no chance.
Do what?
Without that, you have no
Yeah,
chance. Yeah. Yeah.
And you overcome a lot.
Yeah.
I know you gave us $7 million on one occasion, and several other occasions. The football workout facility indoor, you helped on that.
Yep.
And we appreciate all you've done. You've also helped in areas of scholarships and things like that, and that you didn't forget the business school. You've been.
No, I've tried to help Texas Tech. I had lunch today with Kirby Holcutt and Joey McGuire, and I've gotten a download on the Texas Tech football team for this year. We're going to be awesome.
That's good.
I'm pretty excited about it. So, but it's going to be a fun year, fun football season coming up this fall.
That's good.
I mean, I really think we're going to be pretty amazing.
That's great.
So, of course, everybody's good in the summer, but I think in this instance, we actually are going to be real good.
That's great. That's great.
So Cody Campbell, John Sellers, and myself, the three of us, are really heavy into the NIL for Tech.
Yeah, in the Matador.
In the Matador Club. So we've given quite a bit of time and money to the Matador Club, and then Womble is kind of helps the basketball team quite a bit.
Right.
We kind of have it all split up. But I tell my rich friends in Houston, that went to Tech, if you don't want to contribute to NIL, then you can't bench if we lose. So, but I think we're going to be really good. I'm probably more excited about this Texas Tech team coming up than I've ever been about a team in a long time.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah, they're going to be good.
I think one of the things about Gary is that he may have lunch with Coach McGuire and athletic director Kirby Holcutt, but he may be in New York day after tomorrow.
I'm actually going to be in Boston day after tomorrow.
And up there trying to get some money out of somebody where he's getting them to invest. I asked him one time, is he going to get $100 million? He said, we're trying with a little larger amount. Start with a B. But I'm very proud of him. I knew him when he didn't have anything, and neither did I. But he was a C student. He's a good student, but he was involved in a lot of activities, whether it's fraternity or band or whatever. And he never felt sorry for himself. He used to tell me, First National didn't want me. You believe that? They took those other guys and they didn't want me. And Republic took me.
Yeah.
And he was a Republic guy after that. And then they pushed you into oil and gas.
Yeah.
You didn't want to go there.
No.
But the one thing that was consistent with him was hard work and being persistent at what he was supposed to be doing. And he's been very successful. You started a little later in life, but you've got twins.
Yep.
And they're freshmen.
Yep. Freshmen in high school.
In high school.
Yep.
And they were with you when we were at the Final Four.
Yep.
And we had dinner together that night.
Yep.
And,
we should have won the national championship.
We had it won.
I know.
And just got some bad calls in the overtime.
Yeah.
Somebody said, I talked to a guy named Doc Sadler, who coached here at one time, and he was at Kansas as an assistant. And I said, well, we'll get him next year. And he said, Final Four doesn't come along very often.
No.
Enjoy it when it comes along.
Yeah,
it's unusual.
Everybody said, "Well, we'll be back next year," and I knew no, it's hard. But I do think I tell you something, Ken. This is off script here a little bit, but Texas Tech. In fact, I went over and had coffee with our chancellor this morning. If you watch television right now, you've got the country coming apart. You've got Columbia and Yale and all these big riots and all these schools and anti-Semitism and all that kind of stuff. I like Texas Tech because we're down to earth, grassroots, solid school. I like A&M, same. And I think in the future you're going to have a premium for schools like Texas Tech, A&M, TCU, Baylor. There are a lot of solid schools in this state, and I think that's good. And I'm proud to be a graduate of this school. Some of these other schools are coming apart, and I don't know what's going to happen. I'm as concerned for the country right now, I guess, as I've ever been.
There's a lot of division, and I would hate to be, and I've held the position before. I'd hate to be chancellor president at Columbia or Yale or
No, I know.
some that they're going through, and it's hard to lead a university when you have a lot of division within the.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's
So I've known this guy forever, and this guy could have been Johnny Carson when Johnny Carson was so popular. He would have been better, actually.
That was a good compliment. Johnny Carson was one of the most famous comedians of all time.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
But
do you ever tell him jokes in here?
Oh yeah, I'll tell them some funny stories, and sometimes they don't really match with what we're talking about that day, but they like it, and I enjoy it. It's a great class. And,
now tell me what the class does.
Class, we meet 12 times.
All right, this class.
Yes.
All right.
I lecture 8, and we have 4 guests.
Okay.
And the guests, I've had Governor Perry, Governor Martinez, Rex Tillerson when he was CEO and chairman.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Ed Whitaker when he was CEO and chairman of the board of AT&T.
Yep.
And Drake McLean, Ginger Carrick, who really does a good job. She was a flight director, first Hispanic and first woman flight director for NASA, is on the board of regents now. I've had Dusty Womble and just different Chase Udemeyer, the former ambassador.
Yeah.
And so I've never had a bad speaker. Never. And I know them ahead of time, and I screen them.
Yeah.
And that we have some people that every once in a while somebody will invite themselves. And, one of them, I mean, we had a guy that taught economics here, Fred Get Out of Bed Cannell. And Fred, he's taught at 8:00 on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. They had Saturday classes.
8:00, boo.
And I got in real trouble. They'd mail your grades. They mail your grades to your parents. They mail your grades to your parents then. And my dad got those, and he said, "How many times did it meet?" And I had 28 absences.
Yeah.
And the guy, I just go to sleep. I mean, he put me to sleep. So I thought it's better to stay in my bed to sleep than go to his class. I didn't want to disrespect him. That was my position. But we crossed paths many times, many different places. There's not a more loyal or better Texas Tech graduate than Peterson. And
Well, I love the school, Kent.
he does, and he backs it up with his money. And before he got wealthy, he'd give Tech. He was always a member of the Alumni Association,
Yeah.
$100 a year or whatever. He backed us all along. And then when he got where he made big money, he didn't forget us. And but I would say one of the things, your persistence, and he likes people. Some of you, you may not be outgoing, and you have to push yourself. You have to push yourself. And he didn't have to push himself. He never met a stranger, and he liked people, and he believed. Something I always noticed, you always believed in what you were doing.
Yeah.
If you're trying to sell an oil and gas deal to someone, and it's going to be $4 billion, if you don't believe in it, it'll be obvious. And he really believed in what he did. Thank you very much. Any questions? We usually don't take time for many questions.
So are these students from all different, so finance students?
We've got finance, we've got engineering, we've got ag. Let's see, where did we have? I had someone the other day that was, who were the accounting students? I've got, yeah,
You
they're
guys,
back there together.
you guys take intermediate accounting? So I was a finance major and I took intermediate accounting. Holy smokes. You talk about tough. Final exam, there was a fire in the warehouse and the record was about half burned, reconstruct the whole company out of that. You had to figure out, how does this relate to that? Intermediate accounting is a killer.
I took cost accounting because somebody talked me into it, and I was just stupid. I just they said, in the future, if you don't have cost accounting, nobody's going to hire you. Well, I'll take it. And there's a guy named Guilford Cox taught it, and he was just terrible. And he was hard to deal with, but I was proud to get a C. And I told everybody, all my friends, fraternity brothers, roommates, everybody, don't take cost accounting. Now, if you're an accounting major, you got to, and I understand that. But intermediate, that's tough. That's real.
Now listen, intermediate accounting makes cost accounting look like child's play. Right, accounting students.
And that may be true. Is that true? Some of the accounting people that intermediate makes cost. I never used it, not one day in my life. It was wasted time that got away from me that I've never reclaimed.
Oh, I don't know. You get something from everything, as you know.
You try to.
I tell you, one of the things I preach is you never waste time. I've gone to meetings. They said, there's no way you ought to even go to that meeting. I go, sure enough, never know. He knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody, and this happens.
Yeah.
So, I always believe you never waste time.
I mentioned class before. One of the things, I work out every day. And if I'm behind on phone calls, I put in my earpods and walk up and down the halls and up and down the stairs at my house.
Really?
And if I'm behind on emails, I ride a stationary bike and just pedal away and answer emails. And if I'm behind on world events, I get on the treadmill and watch TV.
Yeah.
But if you're doing two things, it's not like you're losing something. You feel like you're really accomplishing something. So do them all. This guy can do it. You can do it. And if you want to, come up and say hi to him afterwards. Get a picture made if you want to. We're adjourned. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, guys.